The Galactic Federation ship dropped out of FDL travel as it approached the small, blue-green planet. Captain Xantho peered curiously at the main view screen, mandibles clicking in puzzlement. "Are we sure the broadcasts originated from here?" he asked. "This planet looks positively primitive." His science officer, Tulori, nodded. "Yes." "Captain, the radio signatures match exactly. A Level 1 civilization by galactic standards. Yet we have no records of making official first contact." Her antennae vibrated pensively. "Curious. Any signs of Federation membership or outside technological influence?" Xantho studied the planet intently, looking for clues. Allery gestured to her display panel. "None at all. No evidence of warp technology, hyperspace travel, subspace communications, or advanced weaponry." The bridge crew murmured in surprise. A Level 1 civilization with no apparent contact or support from the galactic community. Unheard of. "Bring us into high orbit," Xantho ordered. "Let us take a closer look at these creatures." As the sleek Federation ship assumed an observational position, the crew gasped in dismay at the analyzed data pouring in. "This planet has been ravaged by war and environmental destruction," Tulori reported, horror creeping into her telepathic voice, her tendrils coiled in revulsion. "Many regions are heavily irradiated or saturated with toxic chemicals. Entire ecosystems have been devastated by careless resource extraction." Xantho's mandibles clacked angrily. "And the dominant sapient species is responsible?" "It appears so, Captain. Bipedal mammalian primates calling themselves humans." She struggled with the unfamiliar word. "They seem prone to conflict and environmental disruption, with frequent wars over resources and territory." Xantho slammed a manipulator appendage down in frustration. "This cannot stand. These humans are clearly not ready for first contact by Federation standards. We must intervene before they destabilize the entire sector." "Belay that," came a sharp voice behind them. Xantho turned to see Ambassador Zora entering the bridge, expression grim. "We cannot intervene here under Galactic Code 470. 1. This planet is under interdiction and quarantine." Xantho's antennae curled in confusion. "Quarantine? On what grounds?" Zora stepped forward, meeting the captain's gaze steadily. "Tell me, Captain, does the name Earth mean anything to you?" A wave of dismay rippled across the bridge as recognition set in. "No," Xantho whispered in horror. "It cannot be." "I'm afraid it is true," Zora said heavily. "This small, unassuming world is humanity's home planet, birthplace of the only species ever exiled from the Galactic Federation for violent misconduct." Stunned silence gripped the crew as the truth sank in. Legends and horror stories from their history texts suddenly given substance before their eyes. Many lifetimes ago, humanity's boundless aggression could no longer be contained or controlled. After numerous violations of galactic peace accords, diplomatic envoys murdered, unprovoked attacks on Federation members, and illegal weapons development, the unprecedented decision was made to exile them back to their home system. Under the conditions of their banishment, humanity was deemed too dangerous for contact or technological support until they evolved into a peaceful civilization on their own. Now that desperate day had seemingly arrived, yet Earth still bore deep scars of humanity's destructive legacy. Xantho pondered the devastation revealed by their scans. This small planet and its surface barely concealed flowing magma, toxic oceans, irradiated continents dotted by crumbling abandoned cities, and a thin poisonous atmosphere still choked by the remnants of fossil fuel exploitation. All that damage by one comparatively tiny species. How was it possible? What could drive a sapient race towards such collective madness and destruction? His science officer, Tulori, had theories. It appears humanity unlocked nuclear capabilities before establishing a unified global government or shared planetary identity, she reported somberly. They continued fracturing into competing nation-states vying for advantages and resources. Existential threats seem only to have exacerbated their divisions and violence. Zora responded with a resigned membrane pulse, a regrettably common pattern among young worlds. With no higher unifying principles or sense of planetary belonging, civilizations turn insular and self-interested, willing to pillage their own ecosystem and destroy one another for temporary safety or dominance. She slowly surveyed the ship's troubled crew, understandably horrifying for Federation races accustomed to abundance and cooperation. But out here on the galactic frontier, sapient life evolves under very different pressures and philosophies across isolated worlds. Xantho nodded solemnly. Still, humanity had already reached for the stars when the Federation made contact. We welcomed many fiercely competitive expansionary civilizations into the cooperative folds of the galactic community over the eons. His mandibles flexed in frustration. Where did we fail so profoundly with Earth? Zora dimmed pensively at the painful memories. Arrogance and impatience on both sides. Old friend. We moved too quickly to embrace humanity, before properly neutralizing their ingrained hostilities and fears. And the humans bristled at any constraints on their sovereignty or limitations on weapons advancements and colonization schemes. Her body undulated as she accessed sealed records of those troubled times. Atmospheric contamination levels on Earth alone should have given us pause about their planetary priorities and resource ethics. But once admitted provisionally into the Federation, humanity saw only potential threats among their newfound peers. Xantho gave a resigned click of agreement, an understandable reaction given their isolated evolution. Suspicion of outsiders enabled their survival. It was galling to watch a promising species fall into the same traps as so many young civilizations before them. If only there had been a way to make them feel truly safe and valued within the greater galactic community. Should we not offer humanitarian aid at least? He burst out, unable to restrain his outrage any longer. Disaster relief. Surely the Federation's principles of sapient rights called for something here. These are thinking, feeling beings suffering the consequences of their ancestors' mistakes. Can we not help stabilize their biosphere at least? Zora rippled negatively. I'm afraid we still cannot risk contact due to Clause 9 of the Quarantine Edict. However, her gelatinous form pulsated pensively. We can resubmit our case for review by the Federation Diplomatic Council in light of these new developments. Perhaps an exception can be made. Xantho's antennae perked up hopefully. Then there is a chance we may engage in supervised outreach soon?